I never thought I was the jealous type. I trusted my wife, Meredith, the way you trust gravity. It just is. So when she smiled and said, "You're being paranoid. He's just a friend," I wanted to believe her. I wanted to be the steady husband who doesn't interrogate shadows. His name was Callum. They worked together, grabbed coffee sometimes, exchanged messages I never read. I told myself adults have friends. Life moves on. The feeling didn't arrive as suspicion. It arrived as quiet imbalance. Meredith started protecting her phone like it was fragile glass. Not hiding it, just angling it away. She laughed more at messages I didn't hear. She came home lighter, humming, then somehow distant when she noticed me watching. When I asked how her day was, she answered with summaries instead of stories. I felt small for noticing. I felt worse for pretending I didn't. One night she mentioned Callum's wife, Eleanor, casually, like punctuation. "She's lovely," Meredith said, as if that settled something. The word lovely landed wrong. I didn't say anything. I nodded. I went back to rinsing plates and telling myself I was fine. The next week, Meredith said she had a late meeting, then another, then drinks to decompress. Each time, the explanation sounded rehearsed, polished smooth. I told myself routines change. People change. I tried to be patient. I tried to be reasonable. I tried to be quiet. The quiet grew heavy. It pressed on my chest at night. I would lie awake counting breaths, remembering how Meredith used to talk with her hands, how she used to lean in when I spoke. Now she listened like she was waiting for an ending. On Thursday, she kissed my cheek and said she'd be home late again. I watched her keys disappear into her bag. Something in me decided to stop guessing, not to accuse, just to see. I left work early and drove to the bar she mentioned. I parked across the street and waited, feeling foolish and steady at the same time. They arrived together. Meredith laughed first. Callum held the door. It was small, harmless, ordinary. I felt my resolve wobble. Then I saw Eleanor step out of another car and walk straight toward them. She wasn't smiling. She was holding a manila envelope against her chest like a shield. The four of them met on the sidewalk. There was no shouting, no scene. Eleanor spoke quietly. Meredith's smile thinned, then vanished. Callum's shoulders dropped. I got out of my car before I could change my mind. Eleanor looked at me and nodded, like she'd been expecting me. "You must be Rowan," she said. My name sounded heavier in her mouth. She opened the envelope and pulled out printed messages, dates circled in pen, hotel receipts folded with care. Not thrown together. Prepared. She handed them to Callum first. He didn't take them, so she handed them to Meredith. Meredith didn't reach for anything. She stared at the pavement. The silence stretched. I realized I wasn't angry. I was relieved. The weight had a shape now. It started as friendship. Eleanor said, not to me, not to Meredith, but to the air. That's how they all start. She turned to me. "I'm sorry you had to find out like this." Meredith finally spoke. "Rowan, I can explain." Her voice sounded practiced, the way it did when she briefed clients. I shook my head gently, not in denial, in completion. Callum tried to say something about misunderstanding. Eleanor cut him off without raising her voice. "Don't." The word ended the conversation. I looked at Meredith and waited for the truth to arrive on its own. It didn't. I saw calculation flicker, then fear, then something like regret. It wasn't enough. I thanked Eleanor. The words surprised me as they left my mouth. She squeezed the envelope tighter and said, "Take care of yourself." Then she turned and walked away, straight-backed, decisive. Meredith reached for my arm. I stepped back. "You told me I was paranoid," I said, calmly. She nodded, tears forming. "I didn't want to hurt you," she whispered. "That's the problem," I replied. "You decided what I could handle." We didn't argue. There was nothing left to negotiate. I drove home alone and packed what I needed. Meredith watched from the doorway, saying my name like it could pull me back. I didn't slam anything. I didn't announce anything. I left the keys on the table, and the house felt suddenly neutral, like it had chosen no side. Later, in a borrowed room with unfamiliar sheets, I felt the quiet lift. It wasn't joy. It was clarity. Trust isn't the absence of questions. It's the presence of honesty. And when honesty disappears, love doesn't follow far behind. I slept deeply for the first time in months, knowing that whatever came next would at least be real. In the days that followed, Meredith sent messages that tried different doors. Apologies, explanations, memories like receipts. I answered once, briefly, asking for space. She respected it, perhaps because Eleanor had shown her what certainty looks like. I spoke with a solicitor named Halston, who explained timelines and options without drama. I told my parents the truth without embellishment. They listened. That was enough. I met Eleanor for coffee a week later. She didn't seek alliance or comfort. She wanted closure. We spoke about boundaries, about how silence can masquerade as peace. She left first, efficient, kind. I admired her strength without borrowing it. When Meredith and I finally sat across from each other, the conversation was simple. No revisionist history. No promises. She admitted fear and loneliness. I acknowledged my absence in small ways that didn't excuse betrayal. We agreed to separate with dignity. It felt adult. It felt late. I'm not celebrating. I'm rebuilding. Trust, I've learned, is not blind. It's brave. And bravery sometimes means showing up early, standing still, and accepting the truth when it arrives. Without looking back,